Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Tammy Mastroberte, founder of Elevated Existence and publisher and editorial director of the award-winning Elevated Existence magazine. Today, we have joining me Bob Proctor, who's an author, motivational speaker, one of the stars of the movie The Secret. He's actually here to talk about his brand new book, The ABCs of Success, which I really think, for those of you who remember the days of encyclopedia, is literally like an encyclopedia volume on success from A to Z in this book. And he's here to kind of talk to us about success in general, all of the tips that he offers in the book for you guys. So, Rob, thank you so much for joining us here on Elevated Existence.
My pleasure, Tammy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for those who maybe don't know the background story and who are familiar with you but don't know the whole, how you came to be the amazing motivational speaker and success guru that you are, I know that you basically dropped out of high school, you were broke at the time, and what kind of really started this whole journey for you was the book Think and Grow Rich. And I know that you didn't even really know why it worked in the beginning, but realized that it did work. What was it, do you think, about that particular book that's really kind of changed your whole life and has created this whole amazing school and teaching that you offer people?
Well, it was partly the book and then partly a gentleman by the name of Ray Stanford that took an interest in me. And he said, if you'll do exactly what I tell you, you can have anything you want. Well, of course, I didn't believe that. I had struggled. I was 26, no formal education. But I believed he believed it. And so I started to listen to him, and he got me reading Think and Grow Rich. And he said, just do exactly what the author says. He spent his whole life putting it together. He said it'd be a prudent move on your part if you spent the rest of your life attempting to understand and apply it. Well, that made sense.
Right.
And I followed what he said to the letter. And my income went from 4,000 to over $1 million in less than 5 years. I started cleaning floors just to earn some extra money. And I ended up cleaning floors Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. And I was sitting and I was asking myself then, how did this really happen? There was a lot of people cleaning floors, but they weren't doing what I was doing. There was a lot of people who read Think and Grow Rich, but they weren't doing what I was doing. And I've been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I knew I wasn't that smart, but I was earning a lot of money. I've been raised to believe if you don't go to school, you can't win. I hadn't gone to school, and I was winning. Right. And so I was really puzzled, and I started to search. It took me about 9.5 years. And I eventually left my own business, and I went to work with Earl Nightingale in Chicago. And I spent 5 years working with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant. And they were really the founders of the motivation or self-help business as we know it today in recorded fashion. And it was just a phenomenal education. And I became so fascinated, I've never stopped studying it. And I found out why I changed. It took me 9.5 years. But you and I are programmed. We're programmed genetically, and then we're programmed environmentally. And most people that are winning don't know why they're winning. They're conscious competence or unconscious competence. Large corporations, they don't know why their stars are stars. If they knew, they'd package it and sell it to everyone.
Right.
And as I started to study this, I started to understand the programming. It's a paradigm. And I started to understand I had changed it. Didn't know what I was doing, but I had changed it. And when I figured it out, all I wanted to do was teach it. Now, that was 40-some years ago. I've never stopped. I absolutely love sharing this information with people, and just like that, you'll watch their lives change.
Right, absolutely. And so now in this new book that you wrote, it's literally like A to Z chapters. So and it has, tips and tools and advice and so much in it. So I kind of pulled out some of the things that struck me that I wanted to share with everybody who's watching. So one of the first things I think from what I've heard to people, a lot of people say they get tripped up is the A or action step of how do I know when to take action? What if I take the wrong action? Then where am I going to wind up type of a deal? And something I pulled out of this book was any action is better than no action.
There's two parts to our mind. One part gathers information, and the other part controls our behavior. Our subconscious mind controls our behavior, and that's where the paradigm is. So our paradigm is causing us to live the way we're living, behave the way we're behaving, and it It has nothing to do with what we know how to do. We know how to do better, but we're not doing it because the paradigm controls us. That's the reason why people leave school with a wonderful amount of knowledge in their mind, and yet they can't find work. They've got degrees coming off the end of their business card and they're losing. We have brilliant people that are broke. Then we have people that, like myself, never went to school that earn millions of dollars. So as we start to understand how our mind functions, then we understand why we're not doing the things we already know how to do. And we have to change the paradigm. If we don't change the paradigm, nothing changes. Same results year after year. And that's what happens with the high percentage of the population. We should be taught this in school, but we're not.
Right. No, I know. And I'm assuming that at least if you take some type of action, it's going to lead you to the next step. Even if it's not the right step, it'll eventually lead you to where you're supposed to be going.
That's right. You see, sitting back wondering what to do isn't going to get you anywhere.
Right.
Studying without any action isn't going to get you anywhere. You've got to move into action, and you should be doing things that cause a fair amount of discomfort. That's getting out of your box. That's how you move ahead.
Yes, yes. And actually, one of the things you wrote about also is developing a healthy dissatisfaction for your life. To live life happy, but have that little bit of dissatisfaction. And I think some people might read that and say, huh? Can you kind of explain why it's so important to have a little dissatisfaction?
Well, first of all, we're trained to believe, most of us are, that we should be satisfied with what we've got. That's not true. We should be totally dissatisfied. We want to be happy with what we've got, but dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction is a creative state. It was dissatisfaction that gave us the phone. It was dissatisfaction that gave us the lifestyle. Dissatisfaction gave us the ability to communicate the way we're communicating right now. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the Wright brothers were dissatisfied with the form of travel. Bell was dissatisfied with the form of communication. Edison was dissatisfied with the way we illuminated a room. And it's dissatisfaction that causes us to move ahead. I think one of the problems, Tammy, is that we get satisfaction or dissatisfaction and happiness all mixed up. The one has nothing to do with the other. We can be happy with what we've got, but dissatisfied.
Right. I love that. I love that. That really jumped out at me, so I wanted to share that. Another thing I think that really runs throughout the A to Z and all the different tools, a kind of a theme that you see, is that your mind is literally the greatest power that you have for you. And so...
Yeah, well, that was Dr. Go
yes.
ahead. Dr. J.B. Ryan brought that to our attention way back in the 60s. He was down in Duke. He had done all kinds of research in metaphysics, beyond the physical. And he said the mind is the greatest power in all of creation. I think one of our problems, we believe the study of the mind should be left psychiatrists, psychologists, behavioral scientists. You can teach how the mind functions to a small child. You know, when you think that a child, before they go to school, can learn 4 and 5 languages.
Right.
In parts of the world, that's very common. And yet we don't teach them anything about the mind. And we teach them like little kids. Your mind and a child's mind is exactly the same. The only thing different is your vocabulary and your experience. Right. But you can work with a little child the same as you can an adult.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing that you share that really jumped out at me is, and I know it's a big part of any speech that you give, is about goal setting. And you've said goal setting is the essence of life. And you actually have this exercise where you call the goal card. Can you share with people who maybe have never heard you speak or anything what that goal card is and how you actually use that at your events?
The goal card is something you carry in your pocket. It's in a little plastic sleeve. And you write your goal on it. Now, when you write, you create an image in your mind. That image is impregnated into cells in your brain. When you touch the goal card, a light message goes running through your nervous system. It resonates with those cells in your brain, and the picture comes on the screen of your mind. Think of your refrigerator, Tammy. What color is it?
It is silver.
See, you weren't thinking of your refrigerator. When I said your refrigerator, bang, like that, and your mind went into the kitchen, and
right.
You saw the silver refrigerator.
Right.
But you weren't thinking of it. Well, your hearing sense was affected. When touch is affected, the goal card, it triggers the picture. And if you keep thinking of what it is you want, you're going to keep moving toward it because you're putting yourself on the frequency that it exists on.
Right.
Everything's already here. We don't have to get anything. We have to become aware of what we've got.
Mm-hmm. And so this would be either just one goal or one of the most important goals that we want to achieve. That's what we would put on the card.
Yeah, I think you should only have one goal. I think you can have a long shopping list, but pick the one you want the most. Everything else you want will fall into place as you move toward it.
Yes.
You see, the goal is, we think getting the goal is the prize. That's not the prize at all. That's sort of an add-on. It's the awareness that you developed as you move toward it.
Yes.
As you may have a goal of having certain number of million viewers on your show, and you're working toward that. Well, it's the awareness. Your only thing that separates you from that is the awareness of how to do it. But as you keep working, you develop a greater awareness. Now, the material rewards come with it, but it's the awareness that you're going after. The more aware you become, the more you enjoy life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, before I end, I want to just ask, there's so many different things in the book. I mentioned just a few of them here, which are like a drop in the bucket. But if you could kind of give viewers one tool that they can take with them, and maybe it's the goal card, but is there one tool that they can take with them from this and start implementing to shift their lives?
I think if a person will take a pen and make a written statement on the kind of person they want to be. I am so happy and grateful now that I am. And write it out with your imagination. And then keep reading that. Keep rereading it. You will transform yourself into that person. We become what we think about. It's the thoughts that we think in our heart. The heart's the subconscious mind. Then we transform ourselves into that person. I used to be a struggling firefighter in the city of Toronto. Today, I earn millions of dollars and I have a company that operates all over the world. The only thing that's changed is my view of who I am and what I'm capable of doing. Right. And that's all that can change. And as that changes, your world changes.
Absolutely. Amazing. Well, before we go, tell people how they can find out more about you or the different things that you have to offer.
Anybody can just go to bobproctor.com and they'll find out where I am, or proctorgallagher.com. They can get the book in any bookstore that books are sold in, or they can go to penguin.com and they'll find it there.
Fantastic. And just to remind everybody, this is the book. It's called The ABCs of Success, The Essential Principles from America's Greatest Prosperity Teacher. My tip for the book, it's so full of information, you could read it cover to cover, but what I would do is, this is the type of book you want to leave next to your nightstand or next to your meditation area, and literally just read one chapter a day, because one chapter is full of, even if it's just a few pages, it's full of so much that you want to kind of ruminate on that one thing each day. That's how I'm going to do it now, and that's what I would recommend. But thank you so much, Bob, for joining us, and I definitely look forward to seeing you again at some point.
My pleasure, Tammy. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful. And thank you to all of our Elevated listeners, and we will see you next time.